Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. Today, on the First Time Storytelling a Broadcast, my guest is Benjamin Kepner. Benjamin is the CEO of Global Social Media Marketing that help you engage your target audiences regionally, nationally, and internationally to achieve your business goals and education results. Benjamin is here to share the story of the first time he went abroad to travel and to work. Welcome to the broadcast, Benjamin.
Hey, thanks for having me, Anna. I really appreciate it. This is going to be a fun story to tell.
All right, well, let's get into it. How old were you and how did you come across this opportunity to go abroad to travel and work?
Yeah, I graduated from the University of Georgia in 2011. So go Dogs for any Bulldog fans out there. But as an aside, I graduated in international business and marketing. So it was really kind of my goal after college to live abroad. Just kind of everything that we're taught in those classes is saying, if you're going to really do business abroad, you need to either work there or you need to live there for a certain period of time so you can make connections, learn a language, or whatnot. I was also studying Spanish since I was 10. So it was kind of one of those things where I knew at a language perspective that I really needed to live abroad. So I had a friend that graduated from the University of Georgia in my class with an international business degree, but he graduated a year earlier than me. And he actually went to France and became a English teacher through the government of France. And he told me about that program when he went, and then he came back, obviously. And then right when he came back, I said, this is a really amazing program to get to go over to Europe, teach English, immerse myself fully into the languages. And that's how I found the opportunity, was through a friend, applied to the Ministry of Education with Spain. So I was looking for Spain instead of France, and then went through the application work. And that's kind of how the story began.
So, what about the aspect? Because you went to business school. So, what about the aspect of going over there to teach English? Did you have any hesitations about that?
Yeah, definitely. It was not my goal to be an English teacher at any point in my career. It was kind of like I was trying to figure out how to live and work abroad. And when you do the research, you start to realize that English teaching is really the easiest way that you can live abroad. You can pretty much teach English in just about any country. And it's in high demand skill. I think a lot of people that live in the United States don't realize that when you go over to Europe, for example, your English is very well sought out after, for example, because a lot of the people in Europe, they're learning the Oxford English, the proper English from England. So having Americans, it actually adds the culture over there. Same thing in Asia. They kind of like are so excited to get to learn English from an American person. So I would encourage anyone that has the dreams of living abroad, if you feel like, you can't find a job, looking to teach English in just about any country is going to offer that opportunity for you.
So, quick little funny story. So, I spent a couple of years living in Germany, and one of my workmate, his kids went out to school in the German school, and they were learning English there. And of course, it's like you said, it's the proper Oxford English. So
Right.
his kids were coming back home and like, we don't know how to. Why we don't know these words, and it's English. So he thought it was really funny because they were having to learn a different version of English
Right.
along with multiple version of a German. So now, did you go over there to teach kids, adults? What was the setup prior to leaving here as far as what you were expecting once you got there?
Yeah, so they kind of, the Ministry of Education has different guidelines that you go through, and you're submitting your resume, your background. It really they kind of placed you on a couple of things. So number one, what was your degree in from university, right? I was not an English major. I was not a journalism major. I was an international business major going to teach English. So that didn't really provide any help. The next thing they looked at is they looked at what languages do you speak, right? I was moving to Spain. Obviously, if I can speak Spanish, that's going to help me connect with maybe an older audience, right? That high school, college level, because I can communicate with them fully in another language. And then the other thing they looked at is, did you have any other former teaching experience? In that point in my life, I was 24. All I knew was business school and college parties at the University of Georgia. I was not an experienced teacher with 5 to 10 years, and so that's kind of how they placed you. So with all those credentials that I had at that time, they decided to put me in the K-12 market. So over in Spain, that's pretty much from the age of about 3 to 12. And then you're kind of going after 12 then to like a secondary school where you're kind of going to high school over there. That's how they kind of work it. So they actually called over there La Escuela Secundaria, so secondary school, or primary school is kind of the gap, excuse me, primary school. And so that's how I was placed over there.
All right, so now we get the details out of the way. Tell us the story of preparing to go, getting there, landing, and what the experience was like for you.
Yeah, so I mean, this landing there and getting there was definitely pretty crazy because when I landed there, the biggest thing that I wasn't prepared for is I was being sent to a place called Galicia, Spain. And the thing about Galicia is that it's got three official languages. So it's got English, it's got Spanish, and it's got Gallego. So those three different languages are pretty much all of the culture is learning those at some point, but the Gallego is the local Spanish. And then Castellano is what, the proper Spanish that you would learn from Spain. And then obviously English was being taught in all the schools. So when I landed there, actually all the signs were in Gallego. And so I was kind of struggling when I first landed in this foreign country. I really had thought that my 12 years of Spanish had prepared me, but little did I realize that Spain had all of these different official languages, and that once I got to Galicia, I wasn't going to be able to speak Spanish with some of the people. Some of those people actually were very focused on speaking in Gallego. So that was really kind of an interesting thing. Funny note, like the school I was placed in was spelled Xove. So my mom and my dad, when we got my letter, we always were calling it Exovi. I'm going to Exovi. When I landed there, I realized very quickly that it's a Portuguese pronunciation and it's pronounced Chove. So everybody was looking at me weird, like, what's this guy talking about? Exovi. I don't even know what he's talking about. And so, you kind of, I think when you first land in a foreign country, you start to realize like no grammatical or books can prepare you for real life. You have sheer survival and you have other things that you can communicate with. So I started using my hands a lot more when I was over there. I would be pointing to different signs, right? If I was trying to get from point A to point B. And I think the newest thing for me there was figuring out like the bus system, right? Like what time does the bus come at? What city is it going to? How do I get from one connector to the next? And this was learning all these new cities, talking to people in different languages, and not to feel like I was not welcomed into the country, but people could know I was American. I mean, there was no doubt about it. My accent was American as could be. I looked like an American, and you were just going through that whole different experience of trying to even get from one point to the next and just to survive in a new country that doesn't speak your native tongue.
Did they arrange housing for you? Was that all taken care of, or you had to go there and take care of that?
Yeah, so pretty much how they do it through the Spanish program is that they give you a stipend. And for anyone out there that's curious about the program, it's the Auxiliares de Conversación, and it's with the Ministerio de Educación. So look for Ministry of Education in Spain, and you can read all about that program. It's a pretty newer program. It's only been going on for about 10 to 15 years. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring Americans there and give them a stipend. So stipend is like, 800 euros or 1,000 euros. And that's pretty much, they decide the amount based upon which type of region of Spain that you're in, or if you're in a big city. So if you're in Madrid, obviously it's going to cost more money for housing there. So you're going to get a bigger wage or a big stipend versus where I was living in a 10,000 person town. So you could actually live in Spain, probably off of like 400 euros, if you can believe that, in an apartment per month. And they would say, hey, we have a school that you're going to, and they can help you find housing. Or if you're an independent adult and you want to do your own housing, you can go, use your stipend, use your own money. Obviously, some people had been leaving corporate America jobs. They'd saved up. I had saved
Yeah.
up personally
So,
about five
yeah.
to 8,000. So, you kind of have your options to choose there.
Okay. tell us, okay, bring us into the story. So bring us into what 24-year-old Benjamin's life was like during this experience. So
Yeah.
so it's a small town, like bring us into this.
Yeah, so if I can like paint the picture, there's this 24 UGA graduate that's, been living in America all his life. He lands into Spain in an area that's near the water. It's near the beach, the north coast of Spain. It's the most northern tip. And I didn't realize that it's this very kind of quaint, beach driven, seafood driven, fisherman driven port, and it actually has a lot of Celtic culture. So I was going into this, seeing all of these different types of references to dances and specific instruments around the Celtic culture. And when I got there, it was very kind of like not very warm, welcoming. Like some people were, but I think that's what you see at a lot of the sea destinations. So I'm there. I've got this yellow rain jacket. Everyone's staring at me, being like, "There's the Americano." Like he's wearing the yellow jacket. Like we know who Benjamin is. I'm going there, I'm getting my passport, I'm having to deal with the government. And then slowly thereafter, I'm sent to the bank. I can't communicate with anyone in the bank. I'm trying to ask somebody next to me. They look at me like I'm a crazy person. And then shortly thereafter, I get a bank account. Then I have to go set up a phone. I haven't had a phone for days. It was just a really wild experience. And what my story became to be, where I started, was I was living with two women. That was new for me too. At 24, I'd never lived with the opposite sex. And so living with two girls that were both 24, 25, they were coming from LA and Washington. So I was getting that kind of experience. And then I was thrown into the school very quickly. And it was, teachers that have been teaching for 20 years, and they have their cafe cortado in the morning with their galletas, and they're all doing their teacher bustle in the morning. And then we're going into class, and I'm kind of being introduced to all the kids. How the school started for me was very interesting. The first day I get there, everybody in the school knows that I'm this American. I'm the only teacher that's coming to this school, this like plural linguistic primary school of 200 plus kids. And when I get there, they're all having their classes. I felt famous. The first day, I was asked for my autograph by the entire school for 200 signatures. And I may never get 200 signatures ever again in my life in any point in my career. But on that day, at 24 years of age, I had 200 kids literally ask for, "Benjamin, you're from America. You're our American teacher for the school year. I want your autograph. How much? Can I get your autograph? I need your autograph." I felt like I became a movie star or something over there. And it just kind of left me awestruck. I'll never forget that. And then meeting all the teachers, and that really felt like, okay, wow, this is my family now. This is my community of people, wherever I'm living in this foreign country, but where I go to work, in this school. It just gave me a whole nother perspective on school and being a teacher, like going through that, connecting with the children. And that was just a really amazing experience to just be thrown into that.
Oh, that sounds that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
It makes up for the town not welcoming you so warmly to have all
right.
the
Yeah.
students doing
So
that.
the school was a very cool thing. And then I got to meet the teacher, and the teacher kind of became like my organic mentor, right? Like, "Hey, Benjamin, this is how we write lesson plans, and this is what you need to be doing in the community." Or she would be helping me with the housing, and all of those things. And the first month, I was just trying to like take it all in. I was just like, you think when you go to another country, maybe in a country that you don't speak the language, you've got culture shock. I thought, okay, I'm fluent in Spanish. I'm going to Spain. Spain seems like a country that, most Americans could handle. I was just like, I was struggling in the beginning. I was like struggling to get a bank account. I didn't have a phone the first week. I didn't even talk to my family, I think, really until like the second week. They were trying to email me, and they were so worried about what was going on all the time. And this was before Zoom and all these like video conference things were big. I mean, we had Skype in 2014. Zoom wasn't even a
Yeah.
thought at that point. So, and we didn't have lives, that didn't exist either. So really our communication was through WhatsApp. So I learned very quickly in Europe what WhatsApp was. Funny enough, like Facebook had just acquired WhatsApp. So I kind of knew that they were a big play, but I didn't realize how much the rest of the world is not really using text messages. Really, the rest of the world is using WhatsApp. They're sending all these multimedias, they're sending all these emojis. That was all new for me at that time. And just getting used to that culture of like, or simple little things that you wouldn't think about. There, the English things that we were talking about right before we started, is like, where they would say Wi-Fi was Wi-Fi. And I was like, what is Wi-Fi? Like, what is everybody talking about? Like, I need to go use to the coffee shop, or they would keep saying that, and I had to figure that out. Or just also some of the culture norms, like realizing that there was this siesta thing. That was a whole lifestyle
I'd be
development at
down
that
for
point.
that.
Yeah. So the funny thing, like, let me paint the picture of an average day for me in my life in Spain. Like the first month or two was wake up around 8, maybe 7:30, because school didn't start until about 10. They actually started school pretty late, but I needed to get up early enough because I didn't have a car. And my method of transportation was the bus. So Chovy was like 1,000-person town. It was even smaller than where I was living, but I decided to live in a bigger kind of city that was closer. They also had other schools and other assistants there too. So that kind of exposed me to some of the other Americans in the other schools. So I would wake up and I was on the beach. So that was cool. I would be, hearing the ocean or whatever, walking to the bus stop. But very shortly in the first month, I bought a longboard. That like revolutionized me be able to go from one point of the town to the other point of the town. I could hop on my longboard and get across town in about 20 minutes on a longboard, versus a walking might take me an hour. So I would then longboard to the bus station, get on the bus station, and then get to the school. And then from the school, or from the bus station to the school, I'd get back on my longboard and I'd longboard to the first coffee shop that was right before the school, because I just needed to like get in the right frame, get some breakfast. I would see people drinking wine, Spaniards, and this blew my mind. I'd see people drinking wine at 10 o'clock in the morning. Somebody that was just like, living off the land, living in this very remote place, and wine and cookies was their breakfast. And that just kind of like blew my mind. And then I'd go to school, meet the teachers, we'd check in, and then I was going to class. And then it was scheduled class. I had a lunch break. And what I actually kind of negotiated, this is a cool story with the school, is I was very kind of poor. I wanted to save my money to travel and do fun things. So I told the school, look, if you can let me eat for free in the cafeteria, I'll be one of the lunch ladies. So they actually made this 24, 6'4" white guy, American, serve 200 kids 3 times a week. And I would serve the 3-year-olds, and they couldn't communicate with me, or I'd have to clean up their faces or make sure they knew how to sit down. And I had to wear the apron and put the hair tie on. It was very kind of humbling for somebody like me. I had 2 years in corporate America, and then all of a sudden I'm wearing now a do-rag kind of thing and a apron, and I'm cleaning up 3-year-old's face. It was really like, I was taken back. I was just like, this is incredible. I can't believe I'm even doing this. And then, shortly thereafter, like, lunch ends, I'm going back into classes. We had recess. I started playing with the kids during recess. That kind of like brought me back to like childhood times. I got to play basketball. Their favorite thing was they used to scream to me all the time, "Machate, Benjamin." And that meant to dunk it, because I was like the tall guy. I could dunk the basketball. So they would scream, and they would, it's just little things like that that you don't even think about when you're an adult. But when you're a kid, they're so memorable, and they're so kind of just brighten your day and add, just simple childhood pleasure, seeing your teacher dunk a basketball with you at recess, and it just kind of like brought me back to like the innocence of being a child and being in school and all those things. And then after recess, you finish your classes for the day, and then it's okay, get back home, get back on the longboard, go to the bus station. And then my routine from there was I would teach a lot private lessons. That was a really big thing that I didn't realize. When you go teach abroad, you are an entrepreneur at that point. You can teach English lessons without any school system or government or anything at that point. I'm on a student visa, so I'm legally allowed to do that. I'm doing that with the school, but from 5 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night, that's 5 more hours of time that I had for Benjamin time. So I use that time to actually give private lessons. I was doing English private tutor lessons for people that I was teaching at the school. I was doing some of the other schools where I was living, like college students that were trying to get jobs at that time. They were just trying to get English practice. They were trying to study for their English exam. So I would go from school directly into private tutoring, and I would try to do food again. I would say, buy me a dinner, I'll give you an hour of my private tutoring. It was like I was trying to negotiate every meal that I could in Spain for English lessons, and it worked very well. Everybody wanted to have English with me, and so I would teach them things, and that was really cool too, because those English lessons were not by the book. At that point it was, what do I want to teach? What do they want to learn? What culture things? So I would teach them, like, what's Waffle House? What does scattered all the way mean for your hash browns? They have no idea what that means. Or what is the Thrillers dance meaning significantly for Halloween? And how is Michael Jackson this huge pop star? And, it was like these really fun English lessons, or talking about movies, or talking about the American culture, because funny enough, my kids at that time thought that women were like Miley Cyrus. I had to have an entire lesson one day with my kids about how women are not like Miley Cyrus, that this was a movie person, that not the entire culture was like that. A lot of Europeans, they take their absorption of American culture through movies and through music videos. So when they would come to me about those things, they would ask me about famous people, and they would ask me, are Americans like Miley Cyrus? Do they live that lifestyle? Is that
Yeah.
normal?
Well, it's interesting because they have, yeah, but then they have at least they have a view and perspective of the
Right,
American life. And then it is setting that straight. But it's a lot more, at least they have something to compare to what we have. We are definitely going blind to a lot of cultures because
right.
we don't get their movies. Well, we do, but you have to go out and seek them to
Hmm.
to connect with that. And it's something I definitely noticed that in Germany, and we take it for granted where we just use expressions.
Right,
And I was dating while I was out there, and oftentimes like, wow, what do you mean by that? What does that mean?
right,
And some of it, because they'll take it literally, but in a
right.
lot of our expressions, that's not how they're meant. So that's great. That would be a fun thing to teach, actually, just on expressions, to get them up to par to what all those are. Now, it sounds like the work aspect turned out to be amazing, although you were
Right.
keeping yourself really busy. We got a little bit of time left before we go into the first time lightning round. Tell us about the traveling that you
Yeah.
ended up doing. What's the best place you ended up visiting?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that's why I worked so hard, because I wanted to use all of my disposable income to travel. I knew if I was in Europe, I wanted to go to multiple countries. So, Christmas was my first big trip. I went to three Eastern European cultures. I actually kind of wanted to be a different kind of perspective there. I went to the Czech Republic, and I went to Slovakia, and also like celebrated the New Year's right after Christmas in like Austria and Prague. So I got to see the fireworks going off on the St. Charles Bridge, hear the bells, hear the kind of fairy tale stories. Thereafter, once the school year ended, I traveled a lot around more of Spain. I went to Barcelona 2 or 3 times. So I'm going to actually say my favorite place I traveled was Barcelona. And I think why that region of Spain is just the culture there. There's over 100 nationalities, I think now. There's also this huge historic influence of art, right? Pablo Picasso is from there. There's all these famous musicians that play there. There's also the port in the sea. There's the beach. They've had the Olympics. I mean, I can really go on and on about the history of Barcelona, but my favorite thing about it was definitely the Gaudi park. Gaudi is like one of the most world-renowned artists, and he just had this garden that I don't know if I'll ever be to a garden like that, and it overlooked the ocean. And I tried to live in Barcelona many times, but it's a lot harder to live there as an American than you think.
Sounds like it's imprinted on your mind and you'll make your way back.
Well, maybe one day. Right now is not a good time as an American to be going to Europe.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
but
Let's wait for the vaccine so
yeah,
we
I
can
hope
go
it
back.
hope it for the best over there. And yeah, I would tell any American if you get the chance to go to Europe, go to Barcelona. It's such an amazing city, and there's something for everyone there.
Yeah. See, I would tell them I've been all over. I would tell them to go to Portugal, to go to Lisbon. It's
Okay.
definitely my. It ended up being one of my top cities in Europe, and the aim is someday to own a place in Portugal. It's definitely an
Very
incredible
cool. What
place.
I'm
Yeah.
very curious, what was the reason for Portugal specifically? Why there?
Well, one, the people speak really good English, so that
That helps.
that always goes a long way. But
Yeah,
it is the culture, the food, the weather. Spain is like that though. Spain does stay a little warmer than Germany gets. Germany is horrible in the winter time.
yeah,
It's cloudy, it's wet, it went months, well not months, but weeks without the sun ever coming out. So that makes it a little rough. So Portugal, great weather, and it's inexpensive,
right.
cheaper. I do believe it's cheaper than Spain.
And then the
And
beaches too, right?
at the beaches.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what I've heard about
exactly.
a lot with Portugal. And to kind of close my story with on a personal level, like one of the greatest things I did living in Spain was surfing, actually. Never surfed in my life. Got to go to Spain in a region that taught surf, bought a surfboard, and actually learned how to surf in Spanish. So that was really cool.
Oh man. So how long did you end up staying there?
I was there for a year. So it's kind of like after a year, you have the chance to renew to be a teacher in your exact school, or you could apply to go to another school. At that point, I was, still an international business guy, was trying to build my business career. So I tried to go to Madrid, but they wanted me to go back and renew my visa, and I had to go all the way back to Miami. It would have cost me 2 to 3 thousand more dollars. And at that time, my mother just said, Ben, like, is this really a career path, or are you just having
Mm.
a gap year at this point? And so that was kind of the decision for me after a year was, I needed to go get a job and, stop just having fun in life, I guess.
Oh, well, it's good to have harmony between the two. So, how did that 1 year experience pay off in the ongoing things that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, I think it paid off for life, to be honest. There's so many different ways that it's paid off. I think number one is it just taught me to be independent. When you live in a foreign country without your family or friends for an entire year, you really learn how to be an independent person and teach yourself survival skills and teach yourself the ability to, interact with new cultures and meet new people. I think the other thing that it did is it took my Spanish fluency from I think I'm fluent to, oh, I know I'm fluent. I was speaking in it every day. I was listening to it every day. I was constantly traveling and speaking it. I mean, just that exposure, I would tell anybody that's learning a language after someone that has been learning languages for over 15 years, my knowledge probably grew faster in that 1 year of time than it did over a 5 year span of studying that language formally in a classroom. So that would be my other tip. And then the short term thing that happened is I actually landed my next job right after that because of somebody else that had been in that same program was a recruiter for the job that I was getting. So that
Mm.
actually was a really good opener. We connected that way. We spoke Spanish to each other in the interview. And the company was a travel company and they knew about that program and they knew that it was new. So I think also the lesson there for anyone listening is if you have this goal of a dream job, there's other things that you can do in between to get to that dream job. And for me, that thing of wanting this international business career, I could now check it off the box and say, I've lived and worked abroad. Even if I was teaching English, which has nothing to do with the business world, which is where I was trying to go, I could say that I'd lived and worked abroad. And now no one was questioning, can we send Benjamin internationally for our company? Oh, he's already had a year of experience living abroad in Spain. He's good to go. We can trust him. He's
Yeah.
capable.
Because you still learn the skills, what's important about a new culture and being in that culture, and that's what exactly that's what corporations that are in the space that you're looking for, what skills and experience you want them to have and go in and get it and have fun doing it. And it's not, you did it, you're 24 years old, but it's never too late to do a shift. If you're
Right.
unhappy where you are right now, to do a shift and go explore something new and gain new skills and experience. And it will, that's one thing that we've been talking about in the majority of the podcast with my guests on this show, is that when you go out and you do something, it comes back around and it ends up having value in some way, shape, or form. And
Sure.
so take it from all the guests that have been on, as they're weaving, as they're putting the string through their lives, they can go back and they can see this was not for naught. It actually ended up paying off. And sometimes a decade later, a year later, but it always comes into play.
Yeah.
So before we start playing the first time lightning round, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I am the CEO and founder of my company, Global Social Media Marketing. You can check our website out at globalsocialmediamarketing.com. And you can find all of my contact information on our website and across social media. It's pretty simple. Benjamin Kepner. It's my first and last name for all my profiles. So hopefully that's pretty easy for most people out there.
All right, awesome. Okay, are you ready for the first time lightning round? The way it works is I'm going to give Benjamin 10 first time options. If it's something that he's done before, similar to if he was on the app, he's going to say up, or he would swipe up if he was on the app. If it's something he's never done, not interested in doing, then it's left. And if something that he's never done, would like to do and add to his list, then we swipe right or say right. Ready?
Okay, so let me just make sure it's right if I'm interested, left if I'm not, up if I've never done it.
If you have done it.
If I have done it. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay. Go axe throwing.
Swipe up.
You have done that. Do you remember your first time?
Yeah, it was actually in Denver, Colorado at a brewery.
How did you like it?
It was pretty cool. I was like, wow, I can't believe people do this, but I understand why they do.
Did you feel a little bit of sense of danger around it? Because those
I
things bounce
definitely
back.
felt dangerous. I was like, my mom always told me not to run with scissors, and now I'm throwing axes. This doesn't seem right.
Awesome. Okay, attend a poetry reading.
Swipe up. I've done that.
Swipe up. Do you remember your first one? Did you voluntarily go? Are you interested in poetry or?
No, I think I was just curious. I was in college and they had some poetry readings with some people that I knew, and I went. It was at like a local coffee shop, and I remember just having a cup of coffee. It was a good time.
Okay. Drive across the US.
Swipe up. I've also done that.
Okay. Get a pedicure.
Oh, um, I guess I'm interested because my father, swiped to the right. Like I'm interested because I don't know. My father told me that a man should always at least try it once, but I haven't because I'm just kind of like, I don't know. There's some weird feeling about it, but I haven't done it yet, but I'll do it hopefully eventually.
Okay, so we're adding it to the list. Do an illustration or take an illustration class.
Swipe up.
Swipe up. First, are you artistic in nature or?
Yeah, my mom actually was the reason for that. She actually thought that it would be a good idea to expose me to a drawing school. So I actually took a drawing school when I was a little kid.
Oh, do you like it? You still do it?
Yeah, no, I think drawing's great. On a funny note, I also studied Chinese, so I think the drawing and the drawing of the characters kind of, I don't know what that means, but they went well together, I think, for me.
Okay. Learn or do the merengue.
Wow, okay. Interested. I've never done the merengue, but I've definitely seen it performed.
Okay, so we're adding it to the list. Donate gift certificates.
Donate gift certificates. Okay, swipe up. I've done that.
Okay. CrossFit.
CrossFit. Not interested.
That's a left on CrossFit. Okay, very well. Eat Cajun cuisine.
I have done that. Yep, swipe up.
Oh, that was your first time. Was it in New Orleans or?
I was gonna say, I mean, I'm from Georgia, so they definitely have some Cajun chicken down here, but I have been to New Orleans, and that's the real stuff, man. They do some really good food in New Orleans.
Okay. Last one. Play ping pong.
Oh, played ping pong 100 times up. Love that game.
Love playing some ping pong.
Yeah.
Okay, final question is how have you been making the best out of the current situation with the pandemic?
Yeah, I think I'm using this word just in the last couple of weeks as I'm trying to be the light in the darkness. I'm just trying to be a positive influence with people. I know that people are struggling or at hard times, so I just want to be a positive impact, make them laugh, smile, see if there's any way that I can help them, and just be a different, positive impact in their life from all the negative things that they might be hearing. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Okay, that's wonderful. Glad you are doing that. We do need lots of lights shining on what's happening right now and staying focused on the positive and what I know that it can definitely be tough, and our hearts and prayers definitely go out to anybody that's impacted, be it financially or with your health, with what's happening. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your story and bringing us to Spain into your experience.
Yeah, definitely. I was really happy to share this story and thank you for having me. It's been a great experience.